Hey guys, I'm Janet on occasion, and today we're playing the Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. So this one is a community cast entered by Ronan, and he's against Flying Taco, who we saw earlier, fighting the White Line, which we all know is OP. Anyway, I love this replay, and there's basically one main reason for that, and it's this guy. Yeah, this Black Dragon. There's a Black Dragon, and he wasn't brought as a joke. Isn't that great? Yeah, you always just see them as, you know, a meme, because they're funny. No, he's actually making great use out of him, which I think is amazing. I love this, so very, very proud of him for bringing a Black Dragon and not taking the mick. So here we can see Cold One Dread Knights. These guys are super deadly, but really unreliable. Like, they've not been historically very good, but they've got great armor piercing, but no anti-large bonus, which I think why people don't tend to bother with them over just the usual Cold One Knights, you know? They miss out on that, but great armor piercing values and just better combat stats generally. But they still rampage, and there's nothing to deal with that in this army, you know? It's only the Lizardmen that have ways to stop things rampaging. So it's pretty tough, you know, these Cold One Knights, but pretty cool to see him. Also, there's Morathi, so huge debuffs from Morathi. She has two -9 melee attacks and a -8 melee defense, which is pretty huge. So all the big monsters, if they get debuffed that much, I mean, their melee defense is going to be really low, generally, because they're big monsters. So lower it even a bit, you know, a little bit more, and lower the melee attack. They're not able to retaliate as much, they're going to get hit more. So it lets big things like, you know, the Cold One Dread Knights or the Black Dragons survive a bit longer and get more hits in, which is awesome. Also here you can see Sister Slaughter. These guys will suffer against Lizardmen in quite a few situations. If there's going to be a lot of chameleon skinks and things like that, they can get picked apart very easily. But there is some defense against that. There are the Dread Spears with their silver shields. And over here we have Dark Riders. Same thing on the other side. This army is basically symmetrical, except, you know, Morathi and a Black Dragon aren't the same thing. But other than that, it's basically symmetrical, this army. But yeah, these guys are great once they get stuck into melee. They will do a lot of damage. But I still think that in a lot of cases, I think Executioners are better because of all that armor. Because Lizardmen tend to struggle against armor. Even their basic troops, they don't have a lot of armor piercing, but they hit really hard. So if you've got a load of armor, you can negate so much damage, whereas these guys won't. They do have a lot of melee defense, though, and they do have poison, which is kind of nice. The poison, it means these guys can actually act as support units. Very expensive support units, but support units. So I love seeing that. Also realize I've been paused this entire time. Let's go to slow motion like I normally do. Tell you what, I'm just gonna go to full speed now, so these guys can catch up to where I've been talking. Anyway, chameleon skinks. That's going to be a pain for the Sister Slaughter. Definitely a pain. Definitely want to chase them off early. They are here two Cold One Spear Riders. These guys, well, of course, they got the armor piercing and the anti-large, so they're going to be way more cost effective than the Dread Knights, you know, in their cavalry engagements. And they're backed up by a Ganossa. That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt a lot. You know, huge armor piercing, huge anti-large. Very, very handy. There's also a Revivification Crystal. Here you can see there are some Javelins. The Javelins are, again, going to be really deadly to the Sisters of Slaughter that only have bronze shields and 5 armor. There's also Saurus Warriors dotted around, and Mazda Mundi. So Mazda Mundi, he's got some great debuffs of his own with Curse the Midnight Wind. He's got the net to stop things from escaping, and of course he's got his bound spells, the Ruination Cities and Banishment, that can just do a horrible, horrible amount of damage. So absolutely wonderful. I think Mazda Mundi's great here, but he is anti-infantry, and a lot of the things that are going to be wanting to fight him are going to be things like the Dread Knights and, you know, and the Dragon. You're going to want the anti-large, not the anti-infantry. Anyway, here you can see, this is looking a bit iffy for the Carnosaur, you know, Cold One Dread Knights are charging in, being a bit of a hassle. These guys have run off one way, but there's Cold One Spear Riders the other way, along with the Carnosaur, so they're going to come back with overwhelming numbers to try and get these Cold One Dread Knights. So they're going to retreat through the Dread Spears, which is great. You really, really want to get this cavalry just caught up on cheap spearmen. But unfortunately, the other side is being attacked as well. So with this sort of unsymmetrical, well, asymmetrical, I guess, Lizardman front line, it's very difficult. It's very easy just to overload one flank. And on the other, who really cares about the Saurus Warriors? They can hold out for quite a while. They'll do pretty well, you know. They'll keep stuff busy. You can see the Dread Knights are running in now. Here, you can see the Shield of the Old Ones, keeping all of these guys healthy, and Morathi has actually charged in. Here we see a Banishment. Huge damage to two very, very expensive units here, the Sister Slaughter and the Cold One Dread Knights. But you can see a Ruination Cities is also going to come in and do diabolical hurt to the others. Breath Attack comes in to finish off these Saurus Warriors, and the back line is compromised. But this has taken a huge amount of damage for very little cost, and this stuff is being overwhelmed. So this is looking terrible for the Dark Elves right now. Yeah, Marathi's in here, but she's fighting a Carnosaur. She's going to get surrounded by Cold One Spear Riders. This is a horrible place to get involved. And Mazdamundi, he's in here, fighting the Sister Slaughter, which is exactly what he wants to be fighting. And that's not looking great. But there are some Dread Spears being held in reserve to make sure cavalry can't sneak into this sort of, you know, this other engagement over here. You can see the other Dread Knights have charged in, but they're taking a huge amount of damage. They're trying to get onto that Bastillodon, though, and the Bastillodon is taking a huge amount of damage. Here you can see the Black Dragon has been trying to polish off the other unit, and now he's going to come in for this Revivification Crystal. And amazingly, Marathi has managed to escape this, which is pretty impressive. Here, Curse the Midnight Wind, lowering melee attack a huge amount. 4 melee attack on those Dark Riders right now. But here, Black Dragon is charging in, so not a bad charge bonus at 50, so that will help, you know, sort of negate the minus 26 melee attack for a time, but that charge bonus will run dry. And he has been netted, but there's not really anything to capitalise, because all of this cavalry is stuck on just cheap spears trying to chase down Marathi. I think the net on Marathi might have been more useful, but you don't really want to be netting something amongst a load of cheap spearmen that are going to get great value. So Marathi's got out of there. And just not sure. Oh, Soul Stealer here, which is very nice. So Marathi's going to get all the health back from those little slip-ups. Still a lot of cavalry running around with these Cold One Spear Riders. It's not ideal, but these ones are being chased down. The Carnosaur now is able to get into this frontline fight. Shield of the Old Ones, giving damage resist to all the Lizardmen. And Marathi is under a lot of pressure here. But this Black Dragon, huge armor piercing, and you'll see that these guys' stats keep getting lowered. They keep getting lowered by Marathi hitting. But she has fled for a time. She is going to come back into that fight, and here you can see Dark Riders are making sure all these skinks can't come back into the fight, which is definitely worthwhile. Sister Slaughter running in. Power of Darkness has been used on them, but at the moment, they're not really suitable for fighting any of this stuff, but if they can get the odd hit in, that will apply poison, and that means they're going to be doing less damage, and with this Soul Blight, they're already doing a lot less damage. Here, another Ruination of Cities basically wipes out those Sister Slaughter, but it also pretty much wipes out the Saurus Warriors. Doombolt coming in, and Master Mundi has taken a staggering amount of damage from these Cold One Dread Knights. Huge amount of damage. Absolutely horrible. These Cold One Spear Riders, they're in the fight, and you'd think they'd be doing a lot better. But no, they just keep getting caught up on things like these Dread Spears. They're suffering quite horribly. Dragon, he can kill one every hit. So Mazdamundi is running away now, and I think Marathi is going to try and chase. And the Carnosaur's been taken out as well. Just all of these big units just suddenly got routed, you know? Marathi hanging out here, doing the, you know, the debuffs to everything. Suddenly, all of these units, all of these really expensive units, just get the advantage against all of the Lizardmen ones, which is really impressive. And the poison from the Sister Slaughter as well contributing to that. Soul Blight, further debuffs. Yeah. Basically, the Lizardmen just couldn't do anything in that fight, which is awesome, because things were looking so bad. They were looking terrible. It looked like Ronan was crushed in the first 30 seconds of that. But then, amazingly, he managed to just group all of his strongest units in one place. You know, Flying Taco threw a load of his expensive units in there, thinking, yeah, I've got this, I've got the momentum, you know. These guys have beaten everything else they've come across so far. And they ran in, and they just couldn't fight. They just weren't effective. They just get bogged down by cheap spearmen. They couldn't get the right hits onto, you know, the right units. And even if they were actually aiming for the Black Dragon, the chance of hitting it were quite low because of all those debuffs. And if they did hit, the damage was going to be lessened because of all the other debuffs. So it just worked out brilliantly. I absolutely loved it. And look at this, Sister Slaughter. I mean, they did take a hell of a beating, but they didn't half get a lot of killing done. I mean, a lot of them were Saurus Warriors, which, you know, are cheaper. You kind of want them to do that. Some of them were skinks, but even then, 100 kills each is pretty incredible, because this is not, you know, a wide, cheap army. This is a pretty decent army. You know, this has some clout to it. So Sister Slaughter just tore things apart. Absolutely wonderful. So, you know, when I say, yeah, I don't know, Executioners maybe, it would have kept them alive longer, but just having all the debuffs, getting everything involved straight away, the heavy hitters such as the Black Dragon, and even Marathi has anti-large and armor piercing, he just crushed things very quickly. It was just very, very high DPS in this army, and it worked wonders, you know, just all those debuffs, they last long enough, you know. Soul Blight, you know, Soul Blight, that's great, but if you don't have a very sort of offensive army, that Soul Blight's going to run out, and then they're going to be fighting on even terms again. So having an army that can kill quickly, Soul Blight's really good, you know, because that time means more, which I think is really cool. So, absolutely loved seeing this. This was wonderful. So, we know Flying Taco's good with his Lizardmen, so it just shows this build was very surprising. I'm very Very impressed by this. I was not expecting it. And yeah, Black Dragon, not brought as a joke. It did work. And that, I think, is my favourite part of this replay. So guys, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.